How's your new year? Who was at the LinkedIn 1 million cups the other week? I'm so bummed I missed it. How was it?
Really good.
Yeah. Did everyone make changes to their LinkedIn afterwards?
Yep. Did see a lot of people changing things.
Yeah. That's great.
Also, headlines all changed.
Yeah. Great. That's what we want. So thanks so much for coming today. My name's Abby Taubner, for those of you who don't know me. I work at Generator as their program manager. Joined by Brian from the little studio. Thank you so much for your services and helping us record all of these. Thank you also to Jake from One Page Accounting for the coffee, as always. Woo! And then some other organizers who aren't here, Camille Mortimer, Brian Tafora, Thad Nation, who also helps out with delivering the coffee, people like that. So today we have Ian and Ryan from Stack41 and Katie also from Stack41. Anyone else from Stack41 in here? Just you guys.
That is Stack41.
That is the team. All right, so the gang's all here. Cool. So I will hand it over to you guys then to come up and present.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks.
We're going to tag team this.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in on the cold morning here, guys.
So let us give you a little bit of background on Stack41. First of all, if you need translation, Ryan's here so he can translate with my foreign accent. Stack41 started up about a year and a half ago. We are a tenant in the fabulous Tier 3+ data center on 31st and Highland, which is built and owned by the Potawatomi tribe. The one thing we can't control as managed services providers is uptime. So we decided that we have to be in a place that can give us 100% uptime so that, as I was saying to Abby earlier, we can pass the red face test if we need to. We deliver data center as a service specifically. So I'm Ian Favill. I've been around Milwaukee for 37 years. I worked for AT&T, Time Warner Cable, Norlight, CCNN. I've been around the block working on my personal brand in the technology business, and I was at Data Holdings for a short while and figured out, oh, you know what? We should start a managed services business at the data center because that's where the demand is. It's not co-location, it's managed services. So why we started the business is that because there's lots of organizations that deliver data center services, faceless, nameless, such as AWS and Rackspace, and they certainly have their applications in the world today. But in terms of personalized design, in terms of applications that require private cloud, that require local connectivity, and the level of security that go with it, then there's certainly a place for us. Not only is there a place for us in Milwaukee, but there also is, for example, Cleveland, Madison, and any city, notably second-tier cities in the country, could use a business like ours. And we see that as an enormous growth opportunity for us, even though we're a wee bit long in the tooth. So, Ryan, you want to talk about?
Sure. So we have this, which is a bit of an eye chart, which will continue the theme when I'm talking. So I'm the technical half of the business. Again, my name's Ryan Brooks, and my history is large network and large applications, and I'm based here in Milwaukee. I also kind of a serial entrepreneur. I have also a business with Clint here, and it's great to talk to you today. So we try to make this, every decision we make, we try to make it very market driven. So we try to listen very closely to what the market is telling us. And here in Milwaukee, I think because we're both based here and know a lot about the enterprise world and the unique sales and I'd say technical needs of the Midwest. Midwest is very much about relationships, and so we've built very close relationships with customers, try to listen to what they want, and build a set of services. This top of the chart here really describes some of the things that are driving the products that we brought to market here. We think that things like having neutrality, meaning you can get circuits in and out of the data center very easily. Handcrafted, we're going to design a solution for you. Proximity, meaning there's a very low latency option between us and you. So often, in the case of an Amazon, a Microsoft, a Google, someone like that doing large public cloud, you're riding the internet to get in between yourself and your organization and those resources. That's great if you're a Netflix or a Twitter or even a startup, right? Because you have these little pieces you can buy from them, and it's facing the internet, great, because you're probably B2C and you want all that stuff. Our customers are largely enterprise, so they need very, I like to say deterministic. Ian says I use that word too much, so I'll say predictable pricing and predictable performance. So these are some of the drivers. And one of the reasons that we're in the data holdings data center is for density. It's a very interesting data center, and I'd encourage you to come by for a tour sometime if you have an interest in things lights that blink. It's really neat. I've often gone all over the place to do work in data centers, and there's some really great data centers in Chicago. There's great data centers around the DC area, around San Jose. For some reason, the Potawatomi built this data center here, and it's a world-class data center, and it's very unusual to see something like that in a Tier 2 city. So what happened was Potawatomi built this place and decided, hey, we want to sell like a real estate type value prop. We want to sell a white box. Meaning we have power nailed, we have cooling nailed, we have security nailed, there's armed guards, there's all the things you'd expect at a Tier 1 data center. However, for the rest of us who can't afford a gigabuck room to put your equipment in, how can I make that easier to consume those resources that are here in Milwaukee? Well, that's where Stack41 comes in. So if you think about it, I like to think of things in terms of the stack, like the name. There's the physical layer, right, which we feel they have nailed. On top of that physical layer, there's a lot of other services that they don't do. And it turns out there's a lot of other data centers in the same situation around the country. So we layer on private cloud, whatever that means, and I'll explain what that means. Disaster recovery, asterisk as a service, meaning services that are purely OpEx, or purely just have a recurring cost to consume. And also for the legacy applications that might be on an old mainframe, we can co-locate those with our cloud and actually connect those. So a hybrid situation where you have physical cloud and virtual cloud. So that's sort of the, we call the value equation is probably the value prop. And
Can I talk about the graphics?
yeah, oh yeah, I wanted to mention Melody and Hunter, if you guys know them, they're local and they did a lot of our graphics on our website, and we love these guys because we're terrible at this stuff. And so when you see the little icons and things like this on our cool website, they're involved in a lot of startups. If you want their contact information, well, we have it. So we're really happy with them. They don't even cost that much. They should charge more. So that's a 30,000 foot view. I'm going to let Ian talk about sort of some of the things that make us more suitable for enterprise versus just, again, the what we call commodity cloud that's out there today.
So there are two elements really to what we do. The vast preponderance of our customers are in the enterprise space. And because of that fact, we hired a young lady that I had the opportunity to work with in the past, Katie Lauritsen. So she's our salesperson now. So now we're 3 people full-time. We do have technical people that we use on a 1099 basis, which gives us some depth in terms of rebooting boxes, doing things like that, just to offload Ryan from the technical side a little bit. So we're actually bigger than just the 3 of us, but for full-time, it is just the 3 of us. So I know most of you guys fit into this area, but most of our customers fit into this area. What's happening in the enterprise world is they're finding technical skills more difficult to find. They're really struggling with the march of technology and the fact that it's getting far more demanding than it has been in the past. Physical resources are getting more expensive. The fight for capital, any CFO You know, basically he goes to the IT, or the IT director goes to the CFO every year and goes, hey, I need this for IT equipment. And the CFO goes, see ya. And it gets pushed down the road another year, which means the versions don't get updated, which means the IT team struggles to try to keep the people up to date with their applications. They can't bring new stuff on board, and so the business starts treading water. And so that is a real issue. We enable enterprise organizations to be current with technology, to be current with platforms and software because their technology can be current. So we do a great deal to basically bolster the enterprise infrastructure so that the IT guy can go to the CFO and go, you know what, I need to do this. This is on my list to do for next year. And the CFO goes, well, how much capital do you need? And he says, well, I don't. I just need a little bit of an uptick in OpEx. And the CFO goes, okay. So think about that for a moment. That's a completely different battle that the IT director has to fight every year. And the CFO goes, I don't have to worry about capital for my IT people for the coming year. So we deliver compliance through the data center, HIPAA, PCI, and the foundational data center, SSAE 16, SOC 2 Type 2 compliance. We deliver security, both physical and electronic. A number of enterprise organizations run these quirky things called ERP systems, if you're not familiar with ERP. And here's another acronym. SAP is the predominant ERP system. Oracle has one, and that's the software that runs enterprise organizations. In order to be able to do mirroring of databases in ERP, you have to be within a 30 to 40 mile radius of the host organization. Well, guess what? You ain't going to do that in Amazon or something like that. It's got to be local, which gives us, obviously being in the metro area, really quite a nice story to tell with enterprise organizations that do run ERP. And that goes into the location sensitivity. So, having talked about enterprise, let's talk a little bit about service and non-traditional businesses, which is most of the audience today. And we're going to talk a little bit about this in a moment. There's another couple of slides that talk about this and differentiation. But these are the things that you guys and companies like yours are looking for. Again, you got that difficulty with IT skills, hard to find. You guys are entrepreneurs. You don't do technology. Maybe you understand it, but you don't have time. You're running a business. Speed to market. You want things that get up and running as soon as possible. You need flexibility. You need that broad reach, ideally the nationwide coverage for your brand. You need scalability. If you get a big new customer, you've got to be able to scale up fast. The appearance of substance. Even if you're a one-man band, you don't want to look like it. Your communication with platforms like that is largely one way. This is one thing that we do, is interactive communication to build an application. So, as I said before, AWS and Rackspace, they're faceless. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you want. We provide that sort of interface for our customers. And you largely don't care where your data's sitting. Well, maybe you do, but you prefer to push to the background that maybe it's in China or maybe it's in Iceland, because that's a possibility with one of the big players. Next one, Rob.
Yeah, so this now starts getting into some of the details. So again, we see ourselves as a private cloud vendor, and what that means is we're building things for that left-hand side. Now, it turns out when you build things for that left-hand side of Ian's slide, they're also suitable for the right-hand side, but they're more performant than you might see on a public cloud. So a lot of what we're hosting are what I call sort of the crown jewel applications or high-value applications. So not so much a public-facing application, but something that runs a business, something that is just key to the enterprise organization. They're often B2B type applications, so some type of interface to a trade organization or ordering organization. They might be an application that's developed in-house. They will often have be very, very heavy on storage and I/O, meaning a high level of I/O operations per second. So one of the things we do is everything that we do is on solid state disk. So whereas a traditional disk might do a couple hundred at most operations per second, we're doing tens of thousands of operations per second. And we're also not charging for those transactions. So on an Amazon or a Google, you pay for each one of those transactions you do against their storage. You don't pay that with us. Again, enterprise, often vertical. So when any of us build a brand new application that's greenfield, it scales horizontally and everything's beautiful, right? Well, the business world isn't like that. A lot of these business things, business applications scale vertically, so you have to throw horsepower at them. So our cloud is oriented toward that. The users, the demands, the business drivers are often tightly coupled to these things from an IT perspective. So there's a new customer, as Ian mentioned, there's a new product line, the CFO, he or she wants to understand what the costs are around that. Oftentimes an IT organization struggles to provide that. So if we can say, hey, let's build a business case for this new product line, plug Stack41 into it, and this is the predictable bill each month to support that new product line. What we're learning is that more and more companies are actually SaaS businesses than they even realize. And then again, very predictable both from a performance perspective and from a cost perspective from month to month. Versus a public cloud, and we're not bashing public cloud here, but we're saying there's a differentiation and that there's room for us, there's a niche for us in this market, and we've been successful. So there you might see things that are more B2C, so business to consumer, where it's, hey, you have some centralized repository and lots of people, the mass communication aspect. When any of us architect a new application, it's going to scale horizontally, so we don't care. When we're startup mode, maybe we have a free credit with Amazon to get started. So things like that. So if you're starting Netflix today, you probably still would do it on an Amazon or something like that. But if you're a traditional business, Amazon might not be a good fit for you. So a little bit more, some details about what makes us special. We actually have this model of undersubscription. So one of the reasons that people love selling cloud as a utility is that they can pack 20 pounds of cloud into a 10-pound bag, right? The idea is, from a plumbing perspective, not everybody's using the plumbing at the same time, so we just have to build it for the average use. What we do is when we build cloud, we actually undersubscribe that resource, meaning we're going to slightly overbuild and then never oversubscribe that. And it turns out the financials still work. So we aim for an 80% utilization of our cloud instead of some of the traditional commodity cloud, people more at 150% capacity. We're 100% solid state, so we're extremely responsive. Enterprises love this. When they port an application or do a migration to us, they often get a huge uplift in performance. So it's not just, hey, when I move my apps to the cloud, they're up and running and it's good. I'm probably I/O limited, so when I come into Stack41, I'm going to get a huge uplift in performance because business applications are usually I/O limited. Again, predictable performance. You don't have what is called noisy neighbors, interesting term. What it means is when you get automatically provisioned into a public cloud, you might be put on the same resources that someone is running one of these big ERP systems or something else, a heavy database, so you're competing for resources with that other application. That isn't the case with us. I mentioned this already, predictable costs. Basically, the footprint in our cloud is what you pay for, and that's known at the beginning. Local. So again, in the Midwest, people like to see where their data is, we've found. They like to meet the people. We've had great luck with that. We also don't depend on the internet being up or the internet being performant to get to our cloud. We, having a network background, often suggest a private network to connect to the data center and to connect to the cloud. So we've done up to 100 gig network pipes. One of our customers is the state of Wisconsin, and so they have two 100 gig pipes that we manage for them. So we'll do anything from 100 gig optical system down to some number of megabits to connect to our cloud, meaning it's, again, very critical performance. You're not competing with other traffic on the internet, and it can be more secure. So the bottom line here is that we're building cloud for enterprise versus the public aspect.
Thanks. So our sales strategy, by the way, Third Wish Creative is the name of the company, which Hunter and Melody own, and they do all these little icons for us. They do a wonderful job. So our business model, our go-to market is through the channel. Yes, we'll go to the enterprise organizations, as Katie does, and say, you know what, you should really look at Stack41. These are the reasons why. But we are a data center as a service business. We don't do all the peripheral things. So we need IT partners to deliver all those peripheral things, like the managed security, like all the software services. We are hardware application people. So we have a very, very collaborative value equation to share with our partners. They don't do what we do in any case, and we don't do what they do. So we don't tread on toes. So any IT organization in this metropolitan area can work with us, and there, by implication, they can appear to be larger than they actually are. They can appear to have a greater depth of services by white labeling our services. And if we get a direct customer, we say, you know what, who would be the best partner to bring in? Oh yeah, okay, we'll bring in Joe because Joe does this, and that's what the customer needs. And we've done that several times already, which leads to a very collaborative story.
Yeah, we joked that a lot of IT organizations or IT outsourcing still cares about selling printers or printer toner, and really we're trying to get them in the mindset of, hey, if you get into the services world, let's get you hooked on the recurring revenue stream, and welcome to a different world.
Relationship development. I've spent my career building relationships, so I know a lot of people in the enterprise space. I know a lot of people in the IT services space, and so that's what I'm using to bring into the business. Katie has her own Rolodex, having been in the Milwaukee IT market for a long time, and so therefore that's exactly what she's bringing to us too. Word of mouth, you know, if somebody likes us, that's great. Actually, most of our contracts, because of the nature of the beast, they're month to month. If people like us, they'll stay with us. If they don't like us, we'll go somewhere else. That's okay. We've got too much gray hair to worry about that stuff. The complementary piece I already talked about with the IT people. We're very collaborative. So even if somebody's not going to do something with us today or this year, if they want to talk about their applications, that's great. We're actually working with a guy. He used to be the CIO for a large adhesives company in Milwaukee, and he retired a while ago. But he keeps in touch with the owner. Well, their director of IT just quit on January 4, and guess who the first call was to after he quit by the owner? The owner calls up the retired CIO and says, hey, need your help. So we're talking to the retired CIO to say, you know what, based on what your business does, these are the things you should be looking to do. We're not going to get anything out of that necessarily, but he's one of the people that we network with. He's one of the people that appreciates what we do, and we can offer him skills and capabilities and understanding of the market that he doesn't necessarily have. Ease of adoption. It's very easy to integrate us into the platform of services for an organization. We're very neutral. We just help people get on board with us, and they can start small and grow.
In fact, if anyone is doing a startup, I mean, I'll extend that offer. We pretty much, since we are here in Milwaukee, we're Milwaukeeans, we know it's tough to start a business at times. We'll throw resources at it, so come and talk to us afterwards. We're fine. We're just giving.
We've already got a couple of organizations like that.
Yeah, so we'll give that away.
That's fine.
Part of this ease of adoption, again, goes back to listening to the market. So what this boils down to is we're offering infrastructure as a service, storage as a service, what we call hypervisors as a service, which is the nerds know what that means. And I'm one of them. And then these big network pipes, and all that wraps up into what we call data centers as a service. So we started out, we grew our business initially through some of Ian's contacts, and did some early projects that were sort of, hey, we're going to sell a little bit of hardware, help some people with network, and then that made our seed money to really get this thing started. And this is what we've done in the last 12 months when we've been just focusing on these managed services. So this is revenue on the Y and then months on the X. And because we're doing just recurring services, we have a nice linear graph to show. Now we have installs and things like that where things will bump up occasionally, but we've got a really nice, it's not a hockey stick, which everyone wants to see, but it's going really a nice direction for us. So one of the things we want to, besides talking to all of you and getting the word out there, we'd love to accelerate some of this. And so we're always looking for investment. If it's the right partner, we're usually looking for someone who can bring something besides just money. Otherwise, we're going to continue to fund things on our own, like we've done. We've been in the black all of our months except the first 2 months, and we're really having a good time. So a little bit about the future. I'll give that to you.
Expansion. We are actively exploring the Appleton market. We had some real estate investors come to us and say, you know what, we'd like to buy a building, we'd like it to turn it into a data center, and we'd like you guys to run it and offer services. And we said, okay. We decided that the Appleton market is primed for that. It's very similar to the Milwaukee market in as much as Wisconsin, as you all know, likes to keep things close. Chicago's a foreign country. So we understand that, and Appleton is even more so than Milwaukee in that they like to keep things in the Fox Valley. Milwaukee's a foreign country to them. Marketing, we are obviously being self-funded. We're trying to do things that make sense. Getting the word out is the biggest thing that we can do. It's that word of mouth thing that I was talking about earlier on. It's one thing to have a great marketing slick that talks about your services, but if people haven't heard of you in the first place, what's the point? So we're trying to do that. I'm active on LinkedIn I like to write anyway, and so I'm actually posting some of my stuff on LinkedIn. Hopefully it makes a little bit of sense to people that read it. You want to talk about the additional tech and
so
FTEs?
Right now, we stop at, again, if you think of the computer world as a stack between the physical layer, the floor at the lowest level, and then what you might use in your web browser as an application at the top level. We're sort of in this zone, which means we might not have some of the expertise you need, and that's where these channel partners come into play. Some of those gaps, probably we still need some folks to fill some of those gaps internally, to take responsibility for those things. So we'd like to add some subject matter experts. More sales is obviously a big thing. I'm big on automation. I don't want to ever have to do something with a single machine. I want to do something with all the machines and script that as much as possible, so that takes time. And then just development of new channels. Ian mentioned the Appleton area. That's going to be, we've made some discoveries there already, but we've had previous success in the Fox Valley, and we think that's going to be about right-sizing that and addressing that demand.
Thanks for taking that point for a moment. I had some noise going on in my head because I wanted to make a point here about additional tech and sales FTEs. Stack41 is not going to grow enormously. We're not going to add tons and tons of people. It's the nature of the beast. It's a technology business. We only need a finite number of individuals. What we do, though, is we allow IT jobs to stay in the community where we operate, because they don't have to outsource stuff to the cloud at AWS or Rackspace. I'll tell you what, AWS and Rackspace don't have any data centers in this geography. We allow organizations, enterprise organizations, to hang on to their local resources because they've got someplace locally that they can keep stuff. They're not going to outsource to one of the mass market data centers. There's a bunch around. Peak 10, right? Very large data center organization. Guess what? They don't have anything in second-tier cities like ours. So we enable IT jobs, which are typically well-paying, to stay in the locality. So we think that we do have an altruistic side to it, to what we're doing. We're concerned about Milwaukee. We're concerned about job flight, notably in those technical areas. And those technical areas are very often very good paying jobs. They're typically occupied by young people. We want to keep the young people in Milwaukee. We don't want to become a ghost city. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. So sorry for the noise. Sorry for asking.
No, that's a good point. I mean, for a while it was Core Visa was hiring everybody smart, and then right now NML is obviously has a huge number of recs out there. But part of our story is when we go and talk to these people who are in the IT
They've
world.
got 2 IT guys, and they both work 50 to 60 hours a week. Think about that. All they're doing though is keeping the lights on. All they're doing is the very basic, geez, I got fires to put out, I got people with desktop problems, I've got my servers that aren't performing properly, my server room's overheating, I've got to update this software version but my hardware's not in the current version to support it. Well, guess what? Do you think they're getting to any of the CEO's list for what IT are going to do for the next year and how that's going to drive profitability in the business? They don't have time. They're already working 50 to 60 hours a week. By adopting our platform, we would allow them to use those IT resources, not to get them out of the business, to cut costs. That's not what it's all about. It's all about driving profitability in the business by redeploying those guys to say, I need you to look at the software platforms that are going to enable our business to grow more quickly and more efficiently. Isn't that why we start the business in the first place? It's not just to keep the lights on, it's to make money.
Yeah, a lot of people are caught in this break-fix cycle, just doing infrastructure, so if we can unload that, that rings true with a lot of folks.
So we done?
Yep.
Is there another slide?
No, that's it.
So thank you so much for listening to us this morning. At very least, if you could bear us in mind, and that word of mouth would be lovely. Talk to other people about us. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, any questions?
That's pretty heavy stuff you got there.
So, I mean, we can explain some of the lingo. If there's this thing about IT really likes to be now these days OpEx, meaning just this expense piece, which you're obviously familiar with, versus just buying a bunch of hardware, and then they don't know exactly what they're getting. So,
you want to talk about the real world application. There's an organization that's been associated with Generator, and it's a great company. I think they've got a fabulous model. Is Keybox out of Madison. Terrific, really bright people. They got a great product, and it's going to go places. Because of what they do, they started up on AWS, and AWS is absolutely applicable to just to start off with. But because of the nature of the beast, they've got some very large files, right? They are storing files that have plans for businesses. They are updating those files on a regular basis. So that information is going in and out of the cloud all the time. With Amazon or a Rackspace, you pay for that. You pay for those transactions because of the way that they formulate their business. With our business, those same files, we don't care how much bandwidth you consume. We're going to charge you somewhat for it, but if it's very spiky, so we'll just even it out and make a charge for the average. And then we charge for the storage. So it's a completely different way of looking at their business and how it's charged for. We allow them to be predictable in terms of their costs, and Amazon does not. There are things that Amazon does that we can't do. Question?
Using the example of the 2 IT guys working 50 to 60 hours a week and offloading what you guys do to you, what's the cost structure of that? What does that look like? So I'm paying my IT guys X, and so give me an example maybe of a monthly that you've got, and obviously it's data storage and all that stuff, but I don't know what that looks like.
So we took over, there's a company, I can't say the name, but it's in Brookfield, and they're basically a SaaS company, but didn't realize it. And so software as a service, and they're connected to a lot of other databases, public and private, and then kind of doing their magic secret sauce with the data and then spitting it back out toward the user. And so it's their entire stack. It's probably 30 or so what I would call servers, big pipe in between, big internet-facing pipe, and that came out to about $5,000 a month for all that, and then that's just flat. So the secret that everyone actually knows is that bandwidth is essentially free. You know, the trend is towards 0 per bit that you move. So we're just going to throw as much bandwidth as much CPU at these things as we can. So
what are like an IT guy in that business? What would someone pay someone for that?
oh, but the IT guy is probably 100 grand.
Over 100,000
Yeah.
with loaded costs.
Yeah, yeah.
So it
Yeah.
really does get to be a no-brainer.
In their case, they were using that 100 grand plus resource to also do, hey, my mouse, literally when I was there, my mouse ran out of batteries. So this guy can do development, debugging, and he can put them in front of a customer, and he's fixing batteries on a mouse. Now granted, we don't address that, but in that case, we brought in a channel partner, and now he's doing architecture, and we're doing hosting, so he doesn't do any break-fix type work.
And their platform, their technology platform was built on servers that they bought from Best Buy.
Yeah.
They were residential stuff instead of the commercial grade, and so there was an uplift by going to us, plus they don't have that capital cost anymore. So that $5,000 a month that you're talking about is for the IT expertise and all the hardware and all the bandwidth and everything else.
So, and I'm totally
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a tech guy.
Yeah.
So in that situation, internally in their business, does everything run faster?
Yeah.
Like all the apps and all the everything and
They were-
emails and everything goes faster?
They were pinched by the performance of their app. So it's a web application, it's public, well, it's business to business, but it's out on the net. But some of the back-end stuff is private. And yeah, it was about 1,000-fold increase in performance because they were on regular disk and they go to us. A couple things that bring us in will be poor performance. So the people were selling stuff and not, I mean, I think one of the customers is Walmart or something.
Yeah, right.
And we can't do it. It's like, huh? We sold it. Better figure out a way to do it. So let's put it on us and put a big pipe behind it. And then also just, hey, I have this stuff all on site and I'm storing maybe health data or credit card data. You can't do that. You've got to have security if you're hosting those things. Or I put it in a room with my little switch and network cables, mess of a room, and it's 120 degrees during the day. So that's the type of stuff that makes the data centers a service.
Like the engineering firm down here.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got a customer right now that's got a room that got up to 117 or something over last weekend, and so we'll put in turns out there's fiber in the alley. We'll get a stub built, so we'll have a gigabit link between us and them, move their stuff in the data center, and then take their whole wide area network and hub it into the data center. So they can do things that they couldn't even do before, really.
Thank you.
What's the trend on bigger companies? Are they abandoning their own servers to go to cloud servers?
It depends who you mean by bigger companies.
I don't know. I can't think of a good size company.
So for a JCI.
Yeah, Kohl's or JCI.
Yeah.
JCI have their own data center build model. They're very distributed and they're quite cash rich. The only people typically building their own data centers now are people that have too much money or not-for-profits. So really the very, very top tier businesses, they're going to do what they're going to do. The Auroras, they're going to do what they're going to do. But organizations that have figured out that they can do things less expensively, or if they don't have those IT resources to do what this guy's capable of doing, which most people do not,
Right.
then they're
So
looking at us.
why are the not-for-profits building their own? It would seem.
Because they're not for profit.
You can get rid of money.
Yeah. They're going to pay for it with the cost of their services no matter what.
Okay.
You know, the point that I saw the other day was that Mayo Clinics actually dumped their data center. Epic's gonna
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're leasing it back to them
Yes.
because they don't want to be in the OpEx side of the world. That's not core business.
We've seen that in a number of places. Someone else will take over the management and lease it back to the anchor tenant.
Yeah.
Get it that way. Very
Harley
interesting.
Davidson did that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, NTT owns their data centers.
So for those public, to your question, those public companies at sort of the top of the Fortune whatever in
Sure.
Wisconsin, the way we get into those, if we do, is through a particular product line or effort. So maybe someone's gone off the reservation and wants to do big data, right? And IT's like, I don't know what that is. Hadoop or Spark, huh? What? Open source, it just blows their mind. So they're just going to outsource the whole thing, build their own business case. So that gets them on us versus, you know, to take over like all their Exchange servers or something that's just boring and they got so entrenched doing it that we're not going to touch that.
Yeah, we got some We got some plans to do things in the Internet of Things space, and I know it's a bit of a buzzword, but we know how to do it, we know how it works, and we know how to aggregate data. So we've got some interesting things in that expansion slide in Appleton. That, that's all part of what we're thinking of doing.
Is there a certain size company you target?
Small to medium-sized business are typically the ones that will most easily adopt our services and most readily need our services. It doesn't matter what they do. It can be manufacturing, it can be healthcare, anything. We've got customers throughout the litany. Government, all across the spectrum.
Any other questions?
I think we tied everybody up.
Thanks
No,
for-
you already, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say thanks for listening to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know you guys have kind of already touched on this, but we always end with, what can we as a community do for you?
We're always looking for smart people. So, we try to we try to stay plugged into younger folks and what everything's going on. Obviously, as Ian said, getting the word out there is a huge deal for us so people know our name before we show up or before someone hears about it and the decision's been made. And then if someone wants to help us expand, we'll always listen to that. But, otherwise, we're going to keep on trucking.
And carry their cards around when you pass them out, right? When you run into customers that need help.
Yeah, go on LinkedIn. Link in with us. Like our stuff. Tell your LinkedIn community that you listen to our talk today. It goes out to all your people, goes out to all my people. And the sort of thing that we were listening to last week with Kate. She was great. That's the way you put these things into operation.
And also, if you could find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, it would help. That's great for word of mouth and likes. That's great for us.